Hey everyone, I think we're live now. Hello, hello, happy Sunday, everybody. If everyone can see me and hear me clearly, please let me know in the chat. That way I can confirm there are no problems. Hi, everybody. Can everyone see me and hear me? Perfect. Yay. All right. Well, welcome to today's live lesson. I am Tutor Molly. Some of you may have seen me here before. I live in Tennessee. It's very cold here right now. And today our topic is going to be, there's actually two parts to today's lesson. Today's part one, and in a few weeks I will cover part two. So we're going to cover figurative language or figurative expressions. And today we are going to focus on similes and metaphors. So we're going to talk about what each of these are, and we're going to practice lots of good practice today. While we are waiting for everybody to join in, we'll give it just a couple of minutes. Let me know where you're watching from this morning, as always. I'll give some shout outs in the chat. Oh, yeah. It's nice to see you in 2023 as well. I guess the last time I saw you, it was the last live lesson of 2022, I believe, or one of the last ones. So this is my first time seeing you in the new year. I can't believe it's already February. Hopefully all of you have had a good new year so far. I hope your 2023 has started off well. Maybe some of you are sticking to some of your New Year's resolutions. All right, let's see where everyone's watching from. I see Nepal, Iowa here in the US, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Senegal, Pakistan, Argentina and Greece, Sri Lanka. Oh, someone said they've been studying with me since 2021. I started doing live lessons back in 2020, so almost 3 years now. I've been doing these live lessons, which has been awesome. Hello, Taiwan and China and Mexico and Japan. Hi, Belgium. Great. Keep telling me where you're watching from. Again, for those of you, and it's late, our live lesson today is going to cover figurative expressions. So it's a two-part series, and today we're going to cover similes and metaphors. In a couple weeks, we will cover something different, okay? To leave early, don't forget that today's live lesson is recorded and uploaded on Cambly's YouTube channel. That way you can watch it again as many times as you need, or if you don't understand something and just want to review it, you can. Hello, Belgium. I think I said Belgium, Bulgaria, Nigeria. Hi, India. Awesome. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started because we have quite a bit to cover today, and I want to make sure that we get some good practice as well. Hi, Cameroon and South Africa. So again, we're going to start off just covering what is figurative language, right? Because that's going to be our topic for today, and then also in a couple of weeks when you see me again. So figurative language we use in speaking and writing. So it's a way we express ourselves that's not necessarily realistic. So we typically use this to add a creative spin on what we want to express or say. It's a fun way to spice up English. Maybe it sounds artistic, or maybe we want to make a joke, or we want to communicate something more clearly. So we're actually stretching the meaning of words for a special effect, okay, for a more fun way to say something. So this is commonly used not only in speaking, but you'll also see it a lot in writing. Really quick, so we have figurative language. So the opposite of figurative language is literal language. So let's just talk about this really quick. So, like I said, figurative language, we're exaggerating or using imagination or something is not realistic. This is figurative language. If we're speaking in literal language, it means that something is literally what we're saying. So, for example, if I'm watching a basketball game and one of the athletes, one of the basketball players, is playing really, really well, he's shooting and he's scoring all the points. I would say, wow, he's on fire. He's on fire. This is figurative. So, I mean, he's playing really well, right? He's not realistically on fire. He's just doing a great job. With literal language, if his clothes catch on fire and I say, oh no, he's on fire, he's on fire literally. Okay, so this is the difference between figurative language and literal language. Figurative, if I say he's on fire, I mean he's playing really well. He's not literally on fire. All right. I'm just going to check the chat and make sure there's no questions on that. Okay. And then again, one more time, our purpose of figurative language, it's just the same for writing as well. So it helps us sometimes simplify complex ideas. So the two types of figurative language we're going to talk about today, like I said, are simile and metaphor. I do have this behind me, but I'm going to talk more. This is just so you can refer to it, but I'm going to talk more, so don't focus on what's behind me so much. All right. Good. Someone said figurative language is a way of expressing oneself that does not use a strict or realistic meaning. Exactly. It's not necessarily real. We want to make it more fun. So we are going to start with simile. Okay, we'll cover simile first. So when we use a simile, we're comparing two or more things with each other. And when we have a simile, we are always going to use the words like or as. Like or as. One or the other. So don't forget that. That's one of the most important things to remember about simile. When we have a simile, it will always have the word like or as in the sentence. A simile is actually a type of metaphor, but there is a difference between the two. And this is just a little formula. When we have as in the simile, we're going to have as, which you will see as we start going through some examples. And really quickly, just to compare, a metaphor is when we use a word or a phrase that points out another to express that they're similar. So when we're using a simile and metaphor, we're making a comparison, okay? Now I said a simile is a type of a metaphor. However, a metaphor is not a simile, which sounds a little confusing. But we'll go over it. And then a metaphor uses linking verbs like is, was, are, and were, okay? So let's get into it. So let's look at some examples of a simile. We're going to look at some examples using as and some examples using like, okay? And these are similes that we use a lot. Maybe you've heard them before in the English language, or maybe you've read them before. So our first one is as sick as a dog. As sick as a dog. So in this simile, we have the word as. You see as plus our adjective plus as again, and then what we are comparing it to, okay? So we're comparing two or more things. As sick as a dog. Good, I already see some people putting some examples. Yeah, feel free to write any examples you'd like in the chat. So the sentence is, Jeremy won't be at work today. He is as sick as a dog. He is as sick as a dog. So it just means he's really sick. Jeremy's really sick. He won't be at work. But If I just say, Jeremy's sick, he won't be at work today, it sounds a little more boring, right? So I want to spice this up by using a simile. Jeremy won't be at work today. He has a dog. So what am I comparing in this sentence? I'm comparing Jeremy, right, to a dog, a sick dog. I'm comparing these two. I want to convey how sick Jeremy is. As sick as a dog. I think I'm going to try and tape these on the wall, but they might fall off. We'll see. Maybe you can see that. All right, let's look at another example. As cool as a cucumber. As cool as a cucumber. This is one of my favorites. I love this one. I like to use this one too. So in a sentence, I could say, even though Jill was nervous, she seemed as cool as a cucumber. Even though Jill was nervous, she seemed as cool. To be as cool as a cucumber, it just means that you are very calm, okay? As cool as a cucumber. Someone who's really calm. So even though she was nervous, she didn't show she was nervous. She seemed as cool as a cucumber. And again, I have as cool as my adjective plus as cool as. And what am I comparing in this? So in this sentence, I'm comparing Jill to a cucumber, right? So I have two things. I have Jill and the cucumber. They're not related whatsoever, right? A cucumber is a vegetable, Jill is a person. But I want to express that she's cool and calm in a fun way. If I just say, even though Jill was nervous, she seemed calm. That's an okay sentence, but I want to spice it up, okay? I want to make it sound better. So I'd say, even though Jill was nervous, she seemed as cool as a cucumber. Very good. All right. Let's see if we can tape this one up here. The next one. As blind as a bat. As blind as a bat. Not a bat as in baseball bat, but a bat as in the animal. The animal. So our example here, and again, I have as plus our adjective blind plus as. Blind as a bat. I have to wear glasses every day because I'm as blind as a bat. I'm comparing myself, my eyesight, to a bat, right? Neither one of these are the same thing at all. But if I just say, I can't see well, this is kind of boring. It makes sense. It gets the point across. But I want to spice it up. I want to make it sound more fun. So instead of saying, I need to wear glasses because I can't see well, I would say, I have to wear glasses every day because I'm as blind as that. This means I have poor eyesight. I can't see well. As blind as a bat. Trying to keep up with the chat. All right, we have two more using as, and then we're going to look at some using like, because remember for similes, we can use like and as. Good. I wanted to read a couple of examples. So Tony said, I'm hungry like a wolf, which we haven't used like yet, but good. I'm hungry like a wolf, or she's as cold as ice. She's as cold as ice. So it's comparing the girl to ice, right? They're not the same thing, but I want to spice up that sentence. She's as cold as ice. All right, my next one is as light as a feather. As light as a feather. So I have as plus my adjective light plus as, and my comparative word I'm using is feather. Does everyone know what a feather is? A feather is what a bird has. And it's very, very light. It's not very heavy. So my sentence is Jack's suitcase felt as light as a feather. Jack's suitcase felt as light as a feather. I don't know what he put inside of it, but it's not very heavy. It's as light case to a feather, to a bird's feather, right? These are two totally different things. But I want to express how light the suitcase is, as light as a feather. Very good. All right, we have one more using as, and then we're going to look at some examples using like, because the sentence structure is slightly different. So the last one is a bit of sarcasm. It's also one of my favorite similes to use. I really like cool as a cucumber. And so this last one I wanted to include because it's kind of funny. It's used as a joke or as sarcasm almost. So it's as clear as mud. As clear as mud. And I think just by this, you can tell why it would be funny, because mud is not clear at all, right? When we see mud, you can't see through it. It's not clear. So as clear as mud. Comparing the sentence of this one. The English class today was as clear as mud. I need to review my notes. Yes, it's ironic. Exactly. So as clear as mud means it's not clear at all, right? It's something that's very difficult or hard to understand. It means we're being sarcastic, right? We don't understand it. It's very difficult. So the English class today was as clear as mud. I need to review my notes. It means it was very difficult or hard. Hopefully you don't feel that way after today's lesson. But I will answer as many questions as I can. That way it's clear as water, not clear as mud. Okay, so these are our examples of similes using as. I'm going to check the chat for some questions really quick, and then we're going to look at a few examples using like. Let's see. Someone asked, can I use them on exam essays? I think it depends on what kind of writing you're doing. Of course, yes, you can use figurative language. And so simile is not the only type of figurative language. I'm going to give you some different types of figurative language in today's lesson and in the other lesson in a few weeks of the types of figurative language that you can absolutely use in exam essays. And this is a great way to show that your English is more advanced, right? That you can express a sentence in a different way, in a more colorful way. So the answer to that is yes. In my next lesson, it's February 19th, I'll give you some other examples of some great figurative language that you can use in essays. But yeah, you can definitely use similes and metaphors. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any other questions. Yes, better to use with literature. Absolutely. All right. So we looked at similes using as, but similes also use the word like to compare two things, okay? It's to sleep like a log. To sleep like a log. Can everyone still hear me? I think I may have lost my connection for a moment. Wait just a second. If you all can still hear me and see me, let me know. I got a notification that my connection was unstable. Okay, good. All right, to sleep like a log. So in this case, we're comparing sleeping to a log, right? A log, which a log is not a living thing at all. So my example sentence is like a log. I had an exhausting day and I will probably sleep like a log. So this just means I'm going to sleep hard. I'm going to sleep really without waking up. Maybe I'm sleeping so well, I'm snoring because I was so tired. To sleep like a log. So in this one, I'm comparing my sleep to a log. Has anyone ever heard this one before? To sleep like a log. Just means to sleep really well. Usually after a long day, maybe you woke up really early and you worked really hard and you're very tired at night, you sleep like a log. All right. The next one. The next one is to have eyes like a hawk. To have eyes like a hawk. Do you all know what a hawk is? I don't know if you have hawks where you live. A hawk is a type of bird. It's a really big bird, and it's a bird that eats other animals. It eats other birds, and it will eat mice, squirrels. I actually lost one of my chickens to a hawk one time. So they're very big birds. And the thing about hawks is they have really, really good eyesight. They have great eyesight, which is how they catch animals. So they can sit up in a tree and see a little mouse in the field, and they can fly down and catch it. So in this case, to have eyes like a hawk, it means that you are very observant, right? You notice things. You see everything. So my example for that, yeah, or eagle. Eagle's the same. Well, they're different types of birds, but eagle eyes is also an expression to use. Sharp vision. Yeah, great definition, to have sharp vision. So Sam tried to steal an extra cookie, but his mom had eyes like a hawk. So she saw him. She saw him trying to sneak and steal the cookie, and he was unsuccessful. Sam tried to steal the cookie, but his mom had eyes like a hawk. She sees everything. I think most mothers have eyes like a hawk. They need to watch their children, their kids. Let me put another piece of tape here. I'm afraid it's going to fall off. Okay, we have two more using like. To stand or stick out like a sore thumb. To stand out like a sore thumb, or to stick out like a sore thumb. So this means that someone or something is different than everything or everyone else, and it's noticeable. Okay, that something is different than everything or everyone else around them, and it's noticeable. So the example would be, Maria stuck out like a sore thumb because everyone was in jeans and a t-shirt, but she is in a t-shirt. Let's say Maria went to a party, and at this party, everyone is wearing just a t-shirt and jeans, very casual. But Maria is wearing a very nice dress. Okay, so she's different than everyone else in the room. And she stuck out like a sore thumb. She stuck out like a sore thumb. It was very noticeable that she was dressed differently. Sometimes maybe it can be a good thing. Typically, it just means that you're different than everyone else. So maybe we also see in a parking lot, everyone is driving or parked. Everyone has a black car, but I have a bright green car. Everyone else who's parked car is black and mine is bright green. So my car sticks out like a sore thumb. right? Because it's different than all the other cars that are black. Just stick out like a sore thumb. I don't like to stick out like a sore thumb. I would rather blend in. All right. The very last one, the last simile we'll cover and then we're going to practice is to fight like cats and dogs. Comparing fighting with how cats and dogs fight with each other. So this just means you argue, right? You fight and argue a lot. So the example of this one, my sister and I fought like cats and dogs when we were younger. My sister and I fought like cats and dogs. Oh, I love that. To fight like Tom and Jerry. I don't know if you all have seen the cartoon, Tom and Jerry. It's a cat and a mouse. And yes, they fight all the time. And so that would be a simile, right? That's a great example of a simile. To fight like Tom and Jerry. Very good. All right, let's do a quick practice. And then I'll take some questions. So I'm going to give you 3 other similes, 3 other ones, and then I'm going to give you 3 sentences, and I want you to match the simile with the correct sentence, okay? Also, if you have questions about similes, now is the time to type them in the chat. That way I can take a look after we practice this before we move on to metaphors, okay? So if you have a question, go ahead and type it in the chat. So let's do a quick practice. I've got 3 similes. They're all using as, not like. I wanted to practice as. So my 3 similes I have are as busy as a bee, as strong as a bull, and as dry as a bone. And all of these similes are used a lot in the English language. So I just wanted to give you some extra fun similes that you can use on top of the ones we've already learned. So as busy as a bee, as strong as a bull, and as dry as a bone. I had a feeling that was going to happen. Let me fix that. And then I'm going to show you 3 sentences, and I want you to match the sentence with the sentence. Maybe that will stay. All right. I'll put these up for you. So my 3 sentences, we'll do it this way. Let me show you sentences first. Please water that plant. She lifted the heavy box without any problem. And she has so many things to do today. Okay? So now I want you to tell me which sentence goes with which simile. Match based on the meaning, what you think it means, which simile. So you need to match one of these with one of the sentences based on what you think it means. I'm going to give everyone a couple of minutes. I know these are long too to type in the chat, and then we'll go over the answers. And again, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat now. And then we're going to move on to some metaphors. Good. I see some right answers already. Good. Give you just a few more seconds while you're typing your answer. Okay, so my first sentence, please water that plant. Please water that plant. We would say dry as a bone. I don't know if any of you have plants. I have a lot of plants. And sometimes I forget to water them, and they are dry as a bone. The next sentence, she lifted the heavy box without any problem. She is as strong as a bull. She is as strong as a bull. She had no problem lifting the heavy box. Very good. And the last sentence, she has so many things to do today. She's as busy as a bee. She's as busy as a bee, right? As a bee. Bumblebees are very busy pollinating for us. All right, let me check and see if anyone has any questions. Great job. You all got all of those right. Hopefully it's clear. Let me see. Any questions about similes? So again, similes is when we're comparing two things that aren't really alike. And we're going to always use like or as in a simile. All right. I don't see any questions just yet, but I'll check again in a minute if you think of something to ask me. So now we're going to move on to metaphors, okay? So metaphors are also comparing something. Metaphors, the main difference between a simile and a metaphor is that simile uses like and as. A metaphor does not use like and as, but instead it uses linking verbs like is, are, was, or were, depending if we're speaking in the present tense or past tense. Metaphors are making a comparison directly. It's a direct comparison, and it helps to describe the person we're talking about or the object in a way that's not exactly true or realistic, but it clarifies the idea, okay? By stating that something or someone is something else. So we're going to look at some examples so that sounds a little clearer as we go through. So metaphor is a direct comparison. It does not use like or as, but instead it uses linking verbs. And we use a metaphor to describe a person or an object in a way that is not, it's not true in the idea. So let's look at some examples, okay? I think it'll be clear once we look at some examples. So our first example, Julia was a shining star in the play last night. So here, I'm not saying Julia was like a star or Julia was as bright as a shining star, right? I'm not using like or as. I'm saying she was a shining star. So it's a direct comparison, okay? So I'm saying basically that Julia, she is a shining star, even though that's not realistic. But I want to express how great she did in the play last night. So instead of saying Julia was great in the play last night, to spice that up, I say Julia was a shining star in the play last night. And I'm using the verb was because it's in past tense. Let's hang this over here. Hopefully that stays. All right. Let's look at Allison and Kelly were together almost every week. They were two peas in a pod. I'm not sure if you've ever heard this one before, to be two peas in a pod. So a pea is the little green vegetable. I guess it's a vegetable. And they come in pods, right? There's a bunch of them that come in a pod. And so when two people are, they get along really well, they spend a lot of time together, maybe they're best friends, we can say they're two peas in a pod, right? It means that they get along really well. They're great friends. So Allison and Kelly were together almost every week. They got along great. They were two peas in a pod. Yeah, this is a good one. So here we're comparing Allison and Kelly to a little green vegetable, right? We're saying that they are two peas in a pod directly. Now, obviously, it's not literal. They're not literally peas in a pod. But we want to express what good friends they are. So instead of just saying they're good friends, we say they're two peas in a pod. Okay, next one. This one's pretty simple. Life is a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster. What do you think this means? What do you think the meaning of this is? Life is a roller coaster. We could also say, today I was a roller coaster. Maybe my emotions were a roller coaster. What do you think it means? Life is a roller coaster. We're comparing life to a roller coaster. Anyone have any guesses? So a roller coaster, it's unpredictable. It goes up and down and there's twists and turns. Maybe it makes us a little sick sometimes, but it's also fun and exciting. So when we say life is a roller coaster, maybe we're just saying life has its ups and downs and its twists and turns, right? Yeah, very good. All right, next one. I think we have 3 more. Billy looked everywhere for his sunglasses, which were on top of his head the whole time. So maybe he spent 20 minutes looking for his sunglasses and they were on top of his head. He is an airhead. He is an airhead. This one, you have to be careful if you use this one because it can sometimes be an insult, right? It can be an insult. It's not very nice to call someone an airhead. But this just means that someone doesn't have common sense, or maybe they're a bit silly or foolish. I like to use the word aloof. I don't know if you've ever heard the word aloof, but it just means they don't really know what's going on. Yeah, so if someone's an airhead, maybe they don't have a lot of common sense. Any questions about this one? Just be careful how you use this one. I would only use it with someone if you know them well in a joking way and say, you're such an airhead. Okay, 2 more. Maybe you've heard this one before. I think this one's a pretty common one. John is a couch potato. He should find an active hobby to keep him busy. So a couch potato is not a real thing, right? This one is kind of a made up, definitely figurative expression. When we call someone a couch potato, it just means that they're lazy. Maybe they spend all of their time sitting on the couch watching TV or sleeping. So someone who's a couch potato maybe is kind of lazy. They're not very active. This can also be an insult, so be careful how you use this one. So John is a couch potato. He should find an active hobby to keep him busy. Lazy. I can be a couch potato sometimes. I think it's okay to be a couch potato sometimes, right? Sometimes we just want to sit on our couch and watch some Netflix series. Maybe 2 or 3 episodes of our favorite Netflix series. And that's okay to be a couch potato every now and then. But if we're a couch potato every day, maybe we need to find something active. All right, last one, and maybe you've heard this one as an expression. I have a hard time waking up early because I am a night owl. So I'm not saying I'm like a night owl, right? That's not a simile. I'm saying I am. I'm the linking verb am. So maybe you've heard early bird versus night owl. An early bird is someone who wakes up early and maybe they don't even need coffee. They're very happy and productive early in the morning. A night owl is maybe someone who stays up later and they're more productive at night in the evening, right? So I am a night owl. Are any of you a night owl? I think it depends. I used to be more of a night owl. I would stay up late cleaning and studying. But as I've gotten older, I think now I'm more of an early bird if I have my coffee. If I don't have my coffee, I'm not an early bird. Here's another metaphor for you. If I don't have my coffee in the morning, I am a bear. I'm a bear. That means I'm grumpy and not very nice if I don't have my coffee in the morning. That's a metaphor that we use. Okay, so these are our examples of metaphors. So again, metaphors are comparing someone or something directly to another thing. And obviously, they're two different things, but we want to express something directly. We want to convey it in a way that is creative. So metaphors use the verbs is, are, was, were. Similes use like or as to make that comparison. Let's do a quick practice. So I have two sentences. And also, if you have questions about metaphors or similes, now's the time to ask. I actually have two more activities for us to practice. I know we're at 43 minutes. So we just have two ways to practice, and then I'm going to let you all longer. But if you have questions, now's the time to ask. Yes, I do like Starbucks. I hate how expensive it is, but I do spend my money at Starbucks, unfortunately. I think because Starbucks is the closest coffee shop I have to where I live, it's the most convenient. But I try to make coffee in my home to save money, but it's not as good. Okay, so two sentences. So we'll do one at a time. And I want you to tell me what is being compared to what and why is it being compared. Okay, so blank is being compared to. So our first sentence is, the wind was an angry wolf howling across the sky. The wind was an angry wolf, an angry wolf howling across the sky. I haven't had all of my coffee this morning. So these are metaphors. We're practicing metaphors. So I want you to tell me what is being compared to what, and it's being compared because why. Okay? Let's practice the metaphor. Very good. So the wind is being compared to a wolf. Very good. Why? Because what? Why are we comparing the wind to the wolf? It would be because the wind is loud, right? Because it's howling. So maybe, I don't know if you've ever had a bad storm where the wind is just really strong and loud. So in that case, we're comparing it to an angry wolf. It's very loud. So the wind is being compared to an angry wolf because it's very loud and strong. It's howling. Good. It's howling across the sky. Okay, let's do one more metaphor. Same thing. I want you to tell me what is being compared to what and why. So the next metaphor, Molly's angry words were bullets that hit Gary right in his heart. It's deep. Molly's angry words were bullets that hit Gary right in his heart. So this is something that you would maybe read in a book, right? This is a metaphor that you would definitely read in a book. So what is being compared to what and why? I'll give you just a minute. And if you have questions, don't forget to write them in the chat. Very good. So Molly's words, they're being compared to bullets. To bullets. Why? Because it hurt, right? So maybe when we're angry, we say hurtful things. And so a bullet would obviously hurt if it hit us. So we are comparing angry words, my angry words, to bullets because they hurt, right? They're hurtful. They can hurt someone's heart. Very, very good. Okay, that is metaphor. If you have questions about simile or metaphor, please type them. We're going to do one more thing that's kind of fun and interactive. So I need your help in the chat, giving me some examples. And this will be the last thing we do today. So I have a noun, snow, okay? I've got the word snow. I want you in the chat to type adjectives. Does everyone know what an adjective is? An adjective describes a noun, right? So I want you to type in the chat some adjectives that describe snow. Give me some adjectives, just one word, one adjective that describes snow. And I'm going to choose a few from the chat to write on this sheet. And you'll see where I'm going with this in just a minute. This is to help us practice similes and metaphors. So, what are some adjectives that describe snow? Give you all just a moment. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to use cold. I see cold, very good. We'll write cold on here. I also see white, good. I'm going to write white. Snow is cold, snow is white. Let's do one more. Give me one more. So I've got cold, I've got white. What's one more adjective? How else can we describe snow? I'm going to give everyone a couple minutes just to type different ideas in. That way I have some. Good, soft. I'm going to use soft. Perfect. All right. Thank you for that. So we have our three adjectives: cold, white, and soft. Now, what I want you to do, first, let's look at cold. Cold is our adjective. I want you, what else do these adjectives describe? Okay, so give me some nouns of things that are cold. What are some cold things that you can think of besides snow? What else is cold? So we know snow is cold. What are some other things that are cold? Things, good. Ice, great. What else? Ice is cold. Ice cream, good. My life. That's funny. Hopefully she's not always cold. I don't know if you mean cold as in her attitude or cold as in her temperature. Sometimes when we call people cold, we mean they're not very friendly. Weather. Or water, yeah. Water, weather. Let's see. My dog is just saying hello. Maybe let's say cold as ice. I'm trying to think of more. Lemonade. Let's say lemonade. I don't know. We like cold lemonade, right? Okay. Now give me some things that are white. Give me some things that are white. Winter is cold. Good. I should write winter down. What are some things that are white? Besides snow, we know snow is white. What else is white? Winter. Cotton, great. Cotton is white. Paper, great. So this sheet of paper, it's not fully white anymore, but white. paper. Milk, sugar, great examples. I'm out of room, so we've got cotton, paper, milk, and sugar. Perfect. Okay, last one, soft. What are some things that are soft? Cloud. I'm actually going to use cloud as soft. I know you all said white. A white cloud is good, but I'm going to put cloud under soft too. I think a cloud would be soft. What else is soft? Good. Hello. What else is soft? Oh, silk. Very good. Silk, skin. A lot of people say like a baby's skin is very, very soft. So we use that a lot to compare soft as baby's skin. Okay, great. So this is a great way for you to practice using similes and metaphors too. So now what I want you to do, so we have our adjectives and we have what's describing those adjectives. I want you to come up with some similes and some metaphors using these words. For example, and if you need to leave, no worries. This is just for you to practice writing similes and metaphors, okay? So for example, if I want to do a simile using the words that you all came up with here, I could say the snow was cold. The snow was cold like ice cream. Maybe eat it too. The snow was cold like ice cream, okay? Or the snow was white like cotton. Or the snow was as white as cotton, okay? These are some examples of similes using the words that you all came up with. If I want to do a metaphor, I could say, the snow is a soft pillow. The snow is, because in metaphors, we're going is a soft pillow, okay? So using the words that you all came up with, I would like for you to create or type some similes and metaphors talking about snow. Or if you want to come up with your own that's not related to what we just did, you can. You could say the snow is a soft cloud. That's a metaphor. The snow is a soft cloud. If I want to do a simile, the snow is as white as milk. The snow is as white as milk. The snow is as soft as silk. The snow is as soft as silk. Very good. As sweet as an ice cream. You could say she's as sweet as ice cream. She's as sweet as ice cream. As white as snow. What could we use? Her skin was as white as snow. Her skin was as white as snow. Very good. The water is as cold as ice. The water is as cold as ice. The winter is as cold as ice cream. I like ice cream, but I don't like winter. The snow is as white as milk. Very good. These are some great examples. Keep them coming. While you're coming up with some more examples, really quickly, remember figurative language. So similes and metaphors are figurative language. And figurative language is what we use when we want to express ourselves in a way that's not necessarily real, right? When we want to sound more creative or fun when expressing ourselves. And in similes and metaphors, we are comparing things. In similes, we're going to use the words like or as, and in metaphors, we're going to use the verb is, are, was, or were. The snow is soft like silk. Very good. His words are as soft as a pillow. Great examples. Okay, very good. So if there are no questions, we're going to stop here. February 19th, I've got a part 2 of this lesson for figurative language. So we're going to cover similes and metaphors. So if you want to keep studying figurative language, please tune in on February 19th. I'll be doing that lesson as well. If you joined in late today, do not forget that this is recorded. So you can go back to Cambly's YouTube channel and rewatch this entire lesson. Maybe you missed a couple of the examples and their meanings. You can go back and watch that again. And for those of you who maybe are already Cambly students, but for those of you who aren't Cambly, myself, from all around the world with all different English accents, who are available 24/7. So that way you can have a class any time of the day. If you are not already a Cambly student, you can get up to 36% off of your subscription using this code, okay? This code's also going to be under the video once it's uploaded, so don't worry if you don't write it down now. It's not gone forever. I just want to say thank you all so much for joining today's live lesson. It is always a pleasure getting to interact with you all through the chat. I hope you learned something new. If you didn't learn something new, I hope that it was a good review for you. But hopefully you learned something new. Everyone enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I will hopefully see you again on February 19th for part 2 of this lesson. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.